Hello and welcome to Dirt Road Believer. I'm Tina. I'm glad that you are with me. We're in the season of Christmas and it's just the most exciting time of the year. So I'm glad that you're here. Today we are following a scripture that we have been dissecting through the month of December. One of the most famous prophecies that we hear around this time of year is Isaiah 9:6. And it says, "For unto us a child is born, and unto us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. He will be named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace." So if you've been following us in the month of December, then you've noticed that week by week I've been breaking this verse down. And week 1, a child is born. Week 2, a son is given. And today, I hope that I teach you a lot, but I also hope I leave you thinking about more. Maybe I just scratch the surface so that you can begin to think about what is this phrase about the government, and the government will be upon his shoulders, or will rest upon his shoulders. We're going to get into that today. But keep in mind that Isaiah prophesied this 700 years before Christ was born. Isn't that amazing? Jesus Christ was prophesied about by Isaiah in Isaiah 9:6, 700 years before he was ever born. Now, there are 3 reasons that Christ came to earth, and they're all evidenced in this one verse. Number 1, to be revealed. For God to be revealed. This baby was born, a child born unto us, so that we could have further revelation about our God. Number 2, to redeem. The second phrase of that verse says, a son is given. He was given to redeem his people. And number 3, he came to reign. And that's what we're going to get into today. The government will rest upon his shoulders. He is a king, King Jesus. So let's get into this. First of all, what does this mean? There's so many thoughts and answers that surround this question. So let's jump right into it. Number 1, the weight was put upon Jesus' shoulders before he was ever born. What do I mean by that? How could the weight of the government be placed upon him? Israel was looking for a Messiah that was a government ruler, someone that could pull them out of their situation, out of their oppression. And in their minds, that could have only been a ruler of some sort, a king, a government leader. And so that's why so many Jews, so many Israelites missed the Messiah altogether, because that's not who they were looking for. They missed him because they thought that their redemption would come from a government leader. So that expectation of who Jesus would be, who the Messiah would be, was already in the minds of many, many people. And when it looked completely different from what they expected, they missed him. So in that way, there was already an expectation. The government was upon his shoulders. Now, I want us to look in 2 Samuel 7:15, and we're going to read about something called the Davidic covenant. You may have heard about this before, but in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 15, God says to King David, "But my faithful love will never leave him," as talking about David, "as it did when I removed it from Saul, whom I removed before you from the throne. Your house and kingdom will endure before me forever, and your throne will be established forever." Now, Nathan is the prophet that is telling this to King David. But he's saying, your throne, the kingdom that you have built, will be eternal. And that was probably hard for David to comprehend, but he follows it up when he hears this prophecy. He asks the question to God, who am I? Who am I that you would do this for me? So he accepted and believed it, although he would never live to see this happen. And what that Davidic covenant is that he took King David's kingdom, which was a man after God's own heart, and through the ages, the lineage of Jesus can be traced back to David. And that is the eternal throne that the prophecy was speaking of there. So we have that, the government upon his shoulders. This was prophesied long ago that the kingdom, the earthly kingdom, the government that was established through King David would continue. Now, the third point is, during Jesus' lifetime, he physically shouldered the weight of the government, just as we do. He had government responsibility, just like you and I do. First of all, he followed the law. There was a law placed on him by the government that he had to follow, and he did. He paid taxes. We read about that. He participated. At the very beginning of his life, he was born in Bethlehem because he was participating in a government census. Ironic that Bethlehem was the home of King David, which is why he was having to report there. So the Davidic covenant all plays out by a government census being awaited upon his parents, and now he winds up in Bethlehem to be born. No mistake there. But Jesus, in the very end of his life here on earth, he literally shouldered the government. When he carried the cross of political injustice, all played out in a political drama put on by the government, and also, supported by the temple. So, an ancient practice of kings is, you know how kings used to wear the robes. Well, these robes were very heavy, and a lot of times you would see two, big jewels or pendants or something right here, and they were literally heavy. And that was supposed to signify that they carried responsibility. Kings carried responsibility, and these robes were a physical, literal weight that represented the weight of, the people and the government upon the king's shoulders. Fourthly, Jesus presently is shouldering responsibility for governing you and governing us. So when believers submit to Jesus, then he leads and he guides. He governs us according to God's kingdom expectations. So we're beginning to see how this phrase, and the government was upon his shoulders. This prophecy was long before he was born, with the expectation of the people, what they were looking for in a government ruler, the Davidic covenant that was already in place. And then during his lifetime, he shouldered the government to the very end, literally on his back. And presently, those who accept Jesus, who believe in Jesus, he is shouldering that burden now, where he governs us, he leads us, he guides us according to his kingdom. And then my fifth point today is ultimately, and here's the one I just love, he will return and he will have complete rule and complete reign as King of the kingdom of heaven. And it will be carried out not just in heaven, but in heaven and on earth when he returns. And so this Davidic covenant is not complete yet, is it? Yes, he reigns as King Jesus from heaven, but when he returns, he will have all the kingdom and he will rule every corner of it. So this is what that phrase, and the government will be on his shoulders, means. And there are a lot of parts to that, and we can see it before he came, we can see it during his time here on earth, and we can certainly see it afterwards now in our own lives of those who call him King Jesus, but certainly when he returns to reign ultimately in heaven and on earth. I hope that you learned a lot today. We have one more week before Christmas. So next week will air on Tuesday, so Christmas Eve. And I'm looking forward to that. I've written something special that will not be long, but I believe it's something that you and your family could listen to together, and it be just a pinnacle or an anchor for your Christmas together in your home. So I hope that I will see you again next week. I'm so looking forward to Christmas, and I wish you the merriest of Christmas seasons. I hope that you are enjoying all the things about Christmas, getting together with those you love, and gifts and all the things that come with it. But more than anything, I hope that you are taking time to be in the Word and to be reflecting on what this season means in your own heart and in your own faith. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to see you again next week. Merry Christmas. Until next week, slow down. Take the dirt road, believer.